Good afternoon. The Sacramento City Council will please come to order. Would the clerk call the roll to establish a quorum?
Thank you. Councilmember Kaplan. Here. Councilmember Tao. Mayor Pro Tem Talamontes. Here. Councilmember Valenzuela.
Here.
Vice Mayor Maple.
Here.
Councilmember Guerra.
Here.
Councilmember Jennings.
Here.
Councilmember Vang. Here. And Mayor Steinberg.
I am here. Good afternoon. Councilmember Kaplan, would you please lead us in the land acknowledgement and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand if you're able. Please rise for the opening acknowledgments in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, the Patwin Wintun peoples, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's histories, contributions, and lives. Please remain standing. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Well, a very good afternoon to everyone in the chambers and watching this meeting. We begin with the consent calendar, items 1 through 13. If there are items that members would like to discuss separately or be voted on separately. Councilmember Vang.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to just comment on item number 7.
All right. Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes, just want to make a brief comment on 10 and 13.
Okay. Do we have public testimony?
I do have 3 speakers on item 13. Would you like to take those?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Atlas Jackman, McMillan Rosa.
Come on up,
Kiki
you guys.
Moores, then Kiki Moores and Brandy House. So Atlas, Maximilian, then Kiki and Brandy.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Atlas Jackman. I am an Urban Agriculture and Food Sovereignty Fellow with the Sierra Service Project in the Sacramento Sustainability Academy program. So today we're here speaking on behalf of the program, hoping to request more funding. And I'm just gonna share some of the many amazing reasons why Sacramento Sustainability Academy is a fantastic program. So Sierra Service Project has been making a demonstrated impact on Sacramento. We have laid nearly 2,000 feet of irrigation at community gardens in every corner of Sacramento. Not only does this method help preserve water in a city that is constantly experiencing drought, it also guarantees that the fresh food we are sharing with our communities is thriving so the communities themselves can thrive. In addition, our workforce training program has equipped the next generation of construction workers, farmers, and community organizers with the necessary skills to service the Sacramento community. Does anybody want to add anything? I'm going to cede my time with that.
Maximilian.
Good afternoon, Council. I just wanted to thank you all for all of your support that you've all given Sierra Service Project in offering the Sacramento Sustainability Academy. Good to see you, Mayor. Mayor was out with us last week, so was Councilwoman Kaplan, celebrating the release of the next round of funding from CFA to the City of Sacramento. I just wanted to share with you all some of the impact and some of the program fellows who've been working that represent every district in the city, have been working at community gardens all over. We're constructing a tiny home at Community Shop Class in your district, Vice Mayor, Councilwoman Maple. So it's been an amazing program. We hope to be able to continue offering this program, to be able to extend it from an 8-week workforce development program to a year-long program that ends in certification and licenses that not only reinforce our program fellows from taking jobs, but becoming entrepreneurs and enterprising and starting their own businesses, contributing to solutions throughout our community. Thank you all for having us today. We appreciate all your support.
Thank you for your comments. Kiki and Brandy.
Hello, my name is Brandy, and I'm part of the Building Science at Sierra Service Project. And I'm Kiki. I'm part of the urban agriculture with Sierra Service Project.
And we're here to present the reasons why you guys should fund SSA. You guys should fund us because, as Maximilian and Alice have said before, we build tiny homes, and that helps with like the homeless population. I was also part of the homeless population at the time that I moved into this. At the time that I got employed into this program, and it was a lot of stress. But the one thing about the program is that they gave us time to handle anything we needed to handle. They gave us a little more leeway than a regular job would, because a regular job, you work a 9 to 5, and then you have to figure out how to handle your business during the day. But one thing about this one, it's really convenient for everyone, because like if we have to meet with a case manager, we can meet with the case manager and come back on site, or anything of that nature. Would you like to add on to that?
And as Brandy has stated, this is something with the Sierra Service Project. This is something that's had gotten me out of my comfort zone. I know more places around the community that are in need of like urban agriculture or vegetables and stuff like that are able to be given out to the homeless and people that are not able to get those resources or have the money and funding in order to go and get it themselves. Not a lot of people have, EBT or food stamps to, be able to grab what they need, and we're able to provide that and plant it and garden and harvest and give all that back to the community and make it a better place for everybody to come. And we just feel like we need this program to get extended longer, because this is an opportunity that not a lot of people know about, and this is something that I feel like we should continue, further down the years. And
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you so much.
thank you so much.
I have no more speakers.
We thank you for coming to the City Council and for advocating for young people and for this incredible program. And thank you to the state of California, Josh Friday, for all of his leadership and the Newsom administration's leadership in making sure that cities are getting real funding to be able to grow these career pathway programs. It's really terrific. Thank you. Council members, let's now go to Councilmember Vang on item 7, and then we'll have Councilmember Kaplan on 10 and 13.
Thanks, Mayor. Just some quick comments. This item is to approve the construction plans and the construction plans for the Wood Park Community Garden Project. I just wanted to take this moment to thank Tinwa and Jason, who's in the audience right now, for their hard work to get us to this moment. We've been working on this project for over 3+ years now, and it's the phase that we're going into now is the community garden, and I know it's something that the Deerfield, Mesa Grande, and Valley High community has been fighting for, and so really just wanted to take this time to thank Jason and Tinwa for their hard work to get us to this moment, and so thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mayor. On item 10, which is the Natomas Interior Levies evaluation and certification, one of the things that stood out to me was we as a city had a contractor that performed some work outside of the original scope and budget without prior approval. So I just reached out and asked city staff, what protocols do we have in place to make sure our contractors are following the appropriate process and getting the approval before deeming things needed by the city when we are also in a time of budget cuts. And I am very happy with the response that I received from the city. We do have appropriate protocols in place, and they specifically negotiated with the subcontractor, because when somebody goes above and beyond and it's not in their scope, we as a city are actually not authorized to pay them. But I appreciate the staff and their follow through to making sure that we hold our contractors to doing the work they're supposed to do, especially in a time where we have to be mindful of the dollars that we have. I'm good with it. It was work that was needed, but just appropriate to call it out and call out staff for following up and making sure the city's protected. So thank you. And then item 13, Max, thank you for inviting me. I didn't necessarily know, Mayor, what I was walking into, but was pleasantly surprised for the press conference with the governor's appointee, Mr. Friday, and listening to the kids speak at the shop, which Vice Mayor Maple, that is a cool place to go for the kids, and then talking to the kids of the program and things that can happen by approving item 13, which is accepting Californians for All Youth Service Corps and where that funding can go. And I just truly enjoyed meeting the students who have been impacted by the programs and see so much positivity that I said maybe we should expand something like that north of the river, because it is such an amazing project that you have, Councilmember Maple, in your district. And I just want to call out, thanks for the invite. It was really impactful to be there.
Thank you. Councilmember Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think you kind of said it earlier when the speakers came up and spoke. And in my heart, I just wanted to give a shout out to them, to let them know that I really appreciate them taking the time to come down here today and to speak to us about a program that has made a difference in their lives and wanting to do more in order to make a difference in others' lives as well. And so I just wanted to kind of just acknowledge them and encourage them to continue to do that. Come down here and speak, and encourage those who you know that are your age to have their voice heard by coming down to speak. And I know it may have been just a little bit scary, but you didn't show it. I didn't see you jitter up here. You got your point across really, really well, and it touched me in a way that made me want to say something to you. So I just want to say keep doing what you're doing, and then encourage others to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jennings. Let's get a motion on the consent calendar. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained. The consent calendar passes, and thank you for starting off our meeting in great fashion. Appreciate you. Okay, let's go to the discussion items. We got the 2022 audit of the City Board Committee and Commission diversity file. Boy, this is a blast from the past, sort of.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Farishta Arari, the Interim City Auditor. The recommendation that is before you is to pass a motion approving the City Auditor's 2022 Audit of City Board, Committee, and Commission diversity. So after initially publishing this report in July 2023, we realized our analysis had overlooked an initial data set provided by the City Clerk's Office in March of 2022 that contained enough detail, such as the name and board name of the members, to render our finding and recommendation of our published report inaccurate. As a result, the audit report released in July 2023 should not be relied upon for assessing the diversity of the city's boards and commissions. As required by auditing standards, we removed the previously released audit from our public website, posted a notification of its need for revision, and disclosed details of the discovery of insufficient evidence after report release in the objective scope and methodology section of this updated report. So, as an agency that frequently points out shortcomings of our colleagues in the city, I think it's important that we also own our own mistakes and correct the public record. We regret this oversight and sincerely apologize to the city clerk, the city council, and the public for having issued a report with inaccurate information. We worked with the city clerk to update the report, and we have removed the finding and recommendation that we made in the original report. We also used the March 2022 data to conduct our analysis in Chapter 3. The objective of this assessment was to review the diversity of board, committee, and commission applicants and members as it compares to the diversity of City of Sacramento residents. Our analysis focused on applicants for all city-appointed seats on boards, commissions, and committees between January 1st, 2020 and July 7, 2020, 2022. And as I mentioned, we updated our analysis for the city-appointed members using the March 2022 data set. The report is broken down into 3 chapters. Chapter 1 analyzes the diversity of City of Sacramento residents. Chapter 2 analyzes the diversity of board, committee, and commission applicants between January 1st, 2020 and July 7, 2022. And Chapter 3 analyzes the diversity of appointed board, committee, and commission members. And this is the chapter that was updated in the updated report using the March 2022 data. This concludes my presentation. I'd like to thank the City Clerk's Office for their understanding and cooperation during the audit process and the review of the updated report. Again, I apologize for the error, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for just being so forthright in expressing that apology. I think it's appropriate, and you did it in the right way. Thank you, Farishta.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk? Okay. Do we have public testimony?
I do not have speakers on this item.
Okay, let's turn it over to the members. Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also want to thank our interim city clerk for, city auditor for, this clarification and for being, forthright about, how when an error is made, how do we clarify it and clarify it for the public record and amongst our colleagues too. So I want to thank you for that right off the bat. On the report itself, though, I do want to, recognize that we made a lot of progress and where our boards and commissions were, which was the intent of this back when Councilmember Carr was here, and a number of us brought up the issues of how do we make sure that our advisory bodies that are giving us input also reflect the city. One area that I see still lags behind on the application side. There's one on the selection side that happens through P&PE, but if you don't have a good pool, then a diverse pool, then that becomes a challenge. So on the application side, we still lag behind based on population on the number of applicants from the Latino community and from the Asian Pacific Islander community. And so those are 2 areas that I want to make sure that while we've made significant strides in all the other categories, we still lag behind in those 2 areas. So I just wanted to call that out for both, our departments and our city clerk and our own council offices that are doing outreach. That is because we are the ones that are going out there and pushing for applicants as well. Those are 2 significant points. And with that, Mr. Mayor, again, want to recognize the fact that the error was called out, that the also recognition to our counterparts, we all work together here, was made public, and also that we move forward in a productive way. That the purpose of an audit and the auditor is for process improvement for us to be able to be better functioning local government. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve and accept the clarified and corrected report.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Guerra. Councilmember Vang.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I just wanted to take this moment to thank our interim director, Farishta, really for your hard work to get us to this moment and working closely with our city clerk's office to make any correction that's needed. I just also want to echo my colleague, Councilmember Guerra, on this, that this audit is incredibly important. My understanding is that previous audit did not analyze the diversity of our boards and commissions, so this is technically like the first one that actually looks at our boards and commission. Is that correct?
We've looked at the boards and commissions in the past. This is the first one that also looks at the applicants.
The applicants that actually applies, yes. I just wanted to ask a quick question really quick. In analyzing this data, in the application process, is this an opt-in for a lot of the folks who are applying in terms of reporting demographics?
Yeah, it's not required. They have an option to select, prefer not to say.
Okay, great. I just wanted to clarify that. And this may be something to the city clerk. I know that she just stepped out, but also making sure that we note that when folks are applying that, that the data is used to help us informed, to help us inform as a mayor and council, the diversity of boards and commission. Just want to make sure that we have that disclaimer on those applications. And maybe this question is directed to the city clerk. If this is something that we share with our applicants, that when they apply, it's data that we collect to help inform us. Is that disclaimer on the application? Just wanted to follow up on that.
I apologize, had to step out for a moment. But yes, the application does state that we use this data to help our outreach. So it doesn't, we don't share that data, it's kept confidential, but it's used to analyze if we're outreaching to the correct applicants.
Okay.
So the data is disassociated from applicant to appointee.
Okay, great, thanks. I appreciate that. And then I just had a quick question when we're collecting that information, because it's self-reported, obviously, is that really appreciate the breakdown of the categories, but trying to figure out how we can break down the Asian category even further if possible. I think a big part of it is the ways in which we ask questions. Sometimes people may opt out because they don't feel comfortable, but I think if we relay the importance of why we're collecting this data to help inform us, it helps people to actually opt in and say, hey, I want to make sure that I share that data. So I'm saying this because I wanted to know, like, when we're collecting that data, do we disaggregate or do we allow the option to say, hey, if you identify as Asian, do you fall within any of these other categories? Is that something that we do currently?
I believe that's another question for the clerk.
Yes.
Sorry.
So I think the questions are more than one, but it doesn't let you choose which ones those are.
Okay, can I make a direction? Because I know this is something we're going to vote on, but to pass a motion, I think for me, having disaggregated data is really important, and the ways in which we ask the question is key. And so perhaps under the Asian category, we can also say, if they check off the Asian category, here are others, or, there's a way to ask it. I would love for us to include that in the application so that we can have disaggregated data on the Asian American Pacific Islander community. I know we break out PI, which is great, but I think ensuring that we have disaggregated data on the applicants pool so that we could look at that next year would be really key, especially on the point that Councilmember Guerra made. We've made tremendous progress in our recruitment, but we still have a long ways to go, especially in our Latino and our API community. And so making sure that we have that data is really key. So we can, for new applications coming in, I think if we could add that to the application questionnaire, that would be really great. And that's the only direction I have for this report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Vang. I can work with you on that. We did work with the city manager's office with Ami Barnes to get our data to collect, but I'm happy to work with you to see how we can further break that down.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to also confirm what the mayor and Councilmember Guerra said of standing up here and eloquently issuing an apology to our clerk and council for a mistake that was done. I think it shows leadership, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second,
Yes.
or we're going to get a motion.
have a motion, but can we add my direction to that motion?
Yeah,
To include the disaggregated data when we're at, for the
API.
applications, yep,
Okay.
for the API community. Thank
and
you.
the seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, very good, and that's the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye, oppose, abstain. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's move now to the official action to put a library bond on the ballot. And I don't know, do we need a staff report on this one, or who's reporting on this?
I'd be happy to make
Madam
a
Clerk,
brief
go ahead.
staff report.
Okay.
So as you know, last week, council adopted an ordinance, the Sacramento Public Library Combined Parcel Tax Measure, and that's going for voter approval on November 5th, 2024. So you already took that action. This action tonight is to direct the city attorney to prepare an impartial analysis, and it's also to secure the position in the selection of ballot arguments, either in opposition or support of the measure.
Okay, and I think that Councilmember Vang has a motion as one of the co-leaders of the effort. Why don't we hear her motion? Do we have any public comment on this?
No public comment on
Okay,
this item.
go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Yes, we've been working really hard to work on the analysis of this and hoping that this will pass. this mayor and council, so we can put on the ballot. As you know, both of these measures, this is a renewal, so this is not an increase, but a renewal to maintain the services at our public libraries. And given Mayor Pro Tem Talamantes' leadership and as chair of the Sacramento Public Library Authority Board, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Mayor Pro Tem Talamantes as the author argument related to this parcel tax measure, the Sacramento Public Library parcel tax measure that's going to be presented to the voters in November.
And can I clarify, is that the argument in support or in opposition?
I believe it's in
In
support.
support.
That's correct. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
It's in
There's
support.
an opportunity for the
argument, so
opponents, right?
There's the support and the argument, but that would, Mayor Pro Tem would be the author for the in support, yes.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, you've been nominated. Do you have a nominating speech?
No, Mayor, but I'll second the motion.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, quick question. When we do the author, isn't the city or whoever authors the argument in support allowed like 5 signatories?
That's correct. There can be 5 signatures on an argument in support or in opposition.
So I think it should be Talamantes and Vang, and potentially ask, I don't know if you've thought of who the 5, maybe Senator Ashby?
We have a committee. We're working with the Friends of
Yes.
the Library, Sacramento Public Library Director, and a few firefighters, and a few other advocates, and so we have our 5 signatures. We just need 1 from the council to be able to move forward.
Perfect. That's all I wanted to just clarify, because being very strategic, as some areas in the polling showed, might need a little extra help than others. Then
Absolutely.
I am good, you being the authorized signatory.
Wonderful, thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye, oppose, abstain. Okay. Very good. It's a very important measure for the ballot. Our last item of the afternoon meeting is also important, the homeless response system update. Let's hear it.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, Yayan Isle, City Housing Manager. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to turn this over really quickly now to Lisa Bates, the Chief Executive Officer at Sacramento Steps Forward, for an update on the coordinated access system as well as the community standards. So here's Lisa.
Thank you. Bates, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for welcoming me. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Thank you, Yayan. Today, we're here to provide an update on the Homeless Coordinated Access System first-year results and to update you on the process for continuing to implement recently developed community standards of service for outreach, sheltering, and housing programs. We'd like to start with a presentation on the Coordinated Access System, and as I mentioned, we'll be sharing the first-year results of what is a 3-year ramp-up, and we're currently in the second year looking back at our first-year results. Coordinated Access System, as a reminder, is a mechanism, a vehicle for our community to connect thousands of people to potential homeless services and assistance on a daily and monthly basis. It has the potential to scale and flex as crisis and housing resources become available, and it is really providing baseline data that we've never had before on who is experiencing homelessness in our system, and this baseline data is certainly being used to improve and adjust our response as a community. As you will see in a moment, a more centralized and consistent front door through 211 and your expanded outreach, we have more information to be able to work with in terms of our investments as a community. We've worked to bring together over a dozen sheltering programs, 1,000 household slots, soon to be 1,500, stand up a targeted prevention program, and provide supplemental outreach capacity to complement the city-county partnership to help address the inflow of persons experiencing homelessness. You'll also hear about planned improvements over the coming year to continue to scale and accelerate our access for our residents to services and supports. Peter Bell, our planning director, will start with the Coordinated Access System overview, and then I will follow with an update on the newly developed community-wide standards. As you know, these standards will be implemented over time and provide us with more ability to have consistency and equity in the services in our community, improve the equality and outcomes for our clients and the response efforts overall. We'll also be looking at improved visibility on how well programs are serving persons experiencing homelessness and opportunities to see adjustments in our approach or investments again. So both these efforts, the coordinated access system and the standards, are really foundational building blocks, scaffolding for a coordinated and more effective system of care. We are appreciative of your support and the board's, the county board support with investments and engagement in these cross-jurisdictional improvements to reduce homelessness. So I'll start by introducing Peter Bell, our planning director for Sacramento Steps Forward and the lead on the CAS development and implementation. Also with us today is Ayana McGee, who's the director of our system of care integration, who's been overseeing the community standards. And I believe, if not here, joining us will be Gabriel Kendall from 211 as an additional resource for you all as we share this first year review.
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, council members. All right, so I'm excited to, my name is Peter Bell, I'm the planning director here at Sacramento Steps Forward. Happy to talk a little bit about the system and some of the sort of successes and updates and things related to its inaugural year here, 2023. So as Lisa mentioned, CAS really in sort of simple terms is sort of the front door for folks who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness here in our community. So creating those pathways into services and making those easy to navigate, streamlined, and ultimately optimizing the resources that are available within our community. In addition, we're seeking ways that we can continue to prevent homelessness before it begins, accelerate the connection time from the point that someone is comes through the services to the point that they're connected to resources. Again, making the system easy to navigate, making the resources within our system, optimized, focusing specifically on shelter utilization, and ultimately forging a cohesive homeless system of care. So the key strategies really this first year was creating that centralized access point through 211, which folks can get to by calling 211 and pressing 8. Creating the service and resource coordination, so bringing multiple resources of different types and variety into the system and having better data to be able to share and communicate out. So some of the key impacts for the first year was having over 37,000 callers connected to resources, having a wait time of less than 5 minutes for folks who are calling in, which was important, being universally available 24/7, 365 days a year, and having over 2,000 households that moved into housing during the year, and having a 10-day median time from the point that someone was assessed for shelter resources to the time that they were connected to that shelter enrollment. I will caveat and say that we're only meeting about 34% of the demand for shelter, so a lot of folks are not able to get in because there just simply isn't enough of those shelter resources. So this 10-day is really indicative for the folks who are getting in, not necessarily those who are not able to get in. So just a little bit of information about folks who are calling into the system. So 73% of callers are currently experiencing homelessness when they call into the 211 press 8 line. Another 25% of folks are either at risk of experiencing homelessness or at imminent risk of experiencing homelessness, and about 2% of callers are considered sort of unstably housed. So that's looking usually beyond a month time frame, but folks are calling in looking for some type of resource. So additional information about folks who are calling in. So we're looking at essentially 50% of calls are originating from these top 10 zip codes here. In addition, folks who are seeking shelter, so we're looking at sort of the percentage of shelter assessments that are being completed in our community. 72% of those are being completed by 211 staff. So essentially the majority of folks who are seeking shelter are doing so by calling in through this dedicated line. In addition, when we look at those zip codes, we see 95811 and 95823 as the top 2 zip codes in terms of call volume. So that's something that's an important data point for us to continue to explore, is looking at where that is. And these top 10 zip codes represented about 50% of all calls. So in addition, we look at some of the efforts to bring new programs into the system. So as I mentioned, it's really key that we continue to provide a variety and number of options for folks who are getting navigated through resources. So we onboarded 541 shelter units and 565 new permanent housing units in 2023. In addition, we look at things like shelter capacity in terms of its utilization. So we looked at programs as they were performing before CAS, as well as those that were performing once they onboarded within the coordinated access system. So overall, the average shelter utilization was 93%, which is quite good, and it's something that we're aiming for and continuing to find ways to continue to improve that utilization. In addition, we looked at over 2,000 households exited from CAS participating crisis resources into housing. So when we talk a little bit about shelters themselves, we looked at there was on average about 50 shelter units that become available each week. So we often get asked, what is that turnover rate? How many folks are we connecting to shelter on a weekly basis? And it's usually about 50 spots that are available. I will note that not all referrals are successful on the first attempt. On average, 73% of referrals result in an enrollment, and the other 27% are missed because the client or household misses their intake appointment and a new client must be referred. As we mentioned before, that median time from assessment to enrollment is 10 days, and over 2,000 households enrolled in shelter and 713 exited to permanent or temporary housing in the year. In addition, we talk a little bit about homelessness prevention. So this is another key strategy for us as we look to, prevent homelessness before it begins, therefore reducing the reliance upon, emergency crisis resources in our system. So we onboarded new problem-solving access points, which are essentially the conduit or vessel for which we deliver the homelessness prevention assistance. So folks call into 211, they're screened, and then they're connected to one of the 13 problem-solving access points to be able to help support them in getting connected to financial assistance, as well as sort of that housing problem-solving conversation, which could seek to avoid them entering into the homeless system. So there was 805 households that were supported in either finding housing or maintaining their existing housing through this model, with over $2 million spent that was specifically looking at things like security deposit, first month's rent, and eviction avoidance being the top categories for what folks were supported with. We also look at things like how long, how sticky is this intervention. 85% of households remained housed after 1 year, looking back on how this is effective, and we're continuing to monitor that over time. Lastly, I just want to talk about some of the things that we're looking to improve within our system. So we know that this is a continual process improvement activity. We mentioned that this is sort of where this is a process that will take about 3 years to really get to where we want to. So as we look at the second year, some of the things that we're working to incorporate are physical access points to help augment the phone access point that's available through 211, so creating more places where folks can go to get connected to these types of services and resources for folks who may not have a cell phone or may struggle with keeping their cell phone charged, in addition to augmenting, as Lisa mentioned, the outreach efforts of the city and the county. In addition, we're focusing on a policy which we're calling the Extremely Vulnerable Household Policy, which would seek to provide real-time referrals for the top 10% most vulnerable people experiencing homelessness in our community. So what this would mean is effectively, as folks are presenting within the system and creating a screening, we would immediately be able to identify if this is someone who's extremely vulnerable and fits those characteristics, and work essentially in real time to find them a resource that we could connect them to that night, essentially sort of striking while the iron is hot for some of these most vulnerable people in our community. In addition, we want to continue to expand access to the one-time financial assistance that we mentioned in the previous slide that will help folks rapidly exit or prevent people from experiencing homelessness, continuing to build upon that success, specifically bringing some of those resources into emergency shelters that may not otherwise have that resource available to them. And lastly, we want to make sure that we're bringing more resources and units ultimately into the coordinated access system. There are a number of new permanent housing units that are slated to come online this year, as well as several hundred new shelter units that we're seeking to onboard this year as well. We're also seeking to find more ways to connect to case caring support, because some of the most success we see in terms of getting folks into shelter and into resources is whether or not they have a case manager that's supporting them. So we want to continue to find more opportunities to connect folks to that case caring support, whether it's through the homeless response system or others that can help support those clients. Lastly, just sort of some success that we've heard from some shelter operators. We know that oftentimes switching to a new system can be difficult, but some of the success and acknowledgement that we're hearing from providers is that the system is working and that it's a continued effort, with a partnership between 211, Sacramento Steps Forward, and of course the different shelter operators within our community that ultimately leads to the success. So we thank your continued support of the system, and I'll be happy to answer questions at the end. I'll turn it back over to Lisa for the community standards.
Please.
Okay, we'll briefly go over the community standards progress that we've made since the last time we were here in the spring. As a follow-up to the presentation that we had on the Regional Coordinated Homelessness Action Plan earlier this year, and a request of the council to come back with some more information about how providers were reviewing and commenting on these standards. So we're presenting to you an update on that. As we have shared in the past, these community standards are mandated by HUD to receive federal resources. Most communities, every continuum of care is obligated to have standards. And they're really intended to help us get to consistency and equity in services and quality, and also to be able to manage and report out on outcomes within our system. Last year, we embarked on the development of the standards in a pretty extensive process, January through really through December, where we brought in national experts to look at our standards and best practices and standards from across the nation and different communities, and certainly taking into account the existing standards that our community already had. These standards were ultimately approved in December of last year by the Continuum of Care Board, and then they were incorporated as part of the regional plan that you saw earlier this year. The engagement process included listening sessions, COC committee reviews, persons with lived expertise support, focus groups, and we actually did additional outreach after the last council hearing with another set of providers that had not participated in the first round last year. The standards are really an important launching pad for stronger performance. Our intent is really to come back to you periodically tied to the regional plan to share how these standards are being incorporated into your contracts, to help give you some data about how the different programs are performing, and then also to share with you some of the results of our work in terms of really reaching out to providers around the training needs that they feel that they need in order to be able to effectively implement these standards. And so one of the things I wanted to just quickly provide you all is some updates in terms of the providers that we reached out to recently. So we reached out to about 8 providers, and we heard back from 5 of these providers, and their feedback was generally positive about the standards. They were appreciative of the effort and felt it was important to establish better quality services across programs. They also affirmed that a lot of the standards were already consistent with their practices and already established in your various funding contracts. And I think your city staff can also share with you any evaluation they have of the contracts to the standards. The concerns that were raised were really related to funding and capacity. Some had requested that there be flexibility, particularly on intake hours versus serving the clients. So being able to accommodate the ability to bring in clients while also serving clients given limited staffing capacity. There were some specific concerns around domestic violence providers and making sure that the data was confidential. And we're happy to report that we are working on a separate database that is compliant with the Violence Against Women Act and domestic violence requirements. And so it will provide that ability to have that confidentiality that was discussed in those sessions. We've also heard that they'd like to have, a very thoughtful process on the rollout with enough flexibility and ramp-up time for providers to align to the standards, and that's always been our intention. And then, as I mentioned, this summer we're beginning to engage in a survey of all the providers in terms of what is their capacity and training needs, in addition to what we already regularly provide, so that they can start to build toward being able to meet the standards if they are not currently at that level. The other thing you can expect in the summer of this year is the rollout of the first set of key performance indicators around the programs. And that'll be useful information for you all as you're making deliberations about your investments and also seeing how our investments are translating to results in our community. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks, and Peter and I are available for questions, and Ayana as well.
Very good, really important report. Do we have anybody from the public who wants to testify?
I have one speaker on this item, Robert Copeland.
A lot of things I expect to hear, I didn't hear, like the income level of the homeless population, the age, if they're disabled or not. If you're on the SSI, you're below the federal poverty level, and rent's going up faster than people's income. And 85% success rate, what? Have you tracked the other 15%? What happened to them? I'm trying to do stuff here at the state level. For the CA4SS coalition, we're trying to get people above the federal poverty. We're trying to get people housed. I think Mayor Steinberg and the city council would agree with that. But I'd like to hear some of these details that I didn't hear. Thank you.
I have no more speakers.
Okay, thank you. Let's have a conversation among the city council here. Start with Councilmember Valenzuela.
Thank you. And I'm also looking forward to that data. I believe our point-in-time count is coming out soonish, so hopefully we'll get that picture more of the demographics. I want to start by appreciating the data that you all shared, although it was alarming to see 95811 as the top zip code, although I guess I should be grateful that folks are getting the word out and calling the number. I will say that the 10-day number is super misleading because it only applies to 33 to 34% of people. When I saw the slides in the deck, I was like, oh, 10 days, I was shocked and pleasantly surprised, and then hearing Peter explain, oh no, this is only 30 to 30. I think it's really important that we tell that part of the story, because if I saw 10 days, and the public would think, oh great, I only need to wait 10 days and people can get into shelter, and not realize that 2/3 of people, that does not apply. So I just want to put that caveat out there. Can you talk a little bit about the intake appointment? I was struck when you said that 1/4 of the people who are calling the number and getting picked to do an intake appointment to get into shelter aren't coming. Are those phone appointments or those in-person appointments?
I'm going to have Peter tag team with me on some of the details.
Yes, so the intake appointments are in person. So what will happen is 211 will contact the folks on the priority list and basically work to arrange the details of that intake appointment. The intake appointment is then sort of scheduled and booked through the homeless management information system, and then the shelter provider will record the intake as completed once they enroll them into the shelter program. So that's sort of the process. But yes, so what will happen is essentially 211 will confirm that intake appointment. They'll schedule it within the system, and all the details will be done, and then the client won't, or the household won't show up for that intake appointment. There will be efforts done to sort of, say, hey, we missed you, what happened? Can we try to get this scheduled for the following day, or whatever it might be. And if we're unable to do that, then ultimately what happens is the referral is denied in the system, and that's where you get sort of that 27% of folks who had that denial within the system because they were unable to make it to their intake appointment. Sometimes it's usually sort of no call, no show, so it's just we weren't able to connect with them, and multiple attempts to connect with them again were not successful.
Okay. Or do we offer transportation or any assistance getting those appointments?
Yes, so we do. 211 actually has sort of a proprietary Lyft software system that they're able to use where they can get rides into the community to help folks get to those shelter appointments. Oftentimes we're pushing those and saying, you should take the ride. I know you think you can get there on your own, but you should take the ride if you can. And so those are one of the things that we'll offer to folks to help try to get them to the intake appointment.
That's awesome. And I really appreciated the specific call out and these standards around allowing participants the opportunities for regular feedback. I wonder if you have any examples of how that's implemented among service providers, or is this too new for them to have implemented it too robustly? It's probably the most common complaint I hear from people who are experiencing homelessness is that they have either some point of critique or feedback that isn't being received. So this seems important to be implemented.
Yes, and we agree. It's something that's being implemented more consistently. I mean, we have some one-offs, but we want to actually also build an ombudsman program. So that's part of the work that we're doing in conjunction with the standards so that we have a go-to place in the system for people to be able to share any issues or concerns that they have, but also just having more regular feedback from clients is something that we're striving within the community standards, but we're not quite there yet.
really glad to see that in here, so thank you. And I think an ombudsman program is a great idea. I will say I was glad to see the nuance on curfews, because I've heard feedback from a lot of folks who have jobs that if the curfew doesn't work, that they just don't go into the shelter because they assume that by breaking the curfew, they'd be out. So I see in here that it says this is not a reason for exiting somebody from the program, but like, how can we more effectively communicate that to folks in the community who might be worried that if I have a second job or if I work odd hours, I can't go into that shelter because they have a curfew at, say, like 8 o'clock, and I'm just not going to make it.
Yeah, I think that's something that we can do, particularly when we're discussing particular options with individuals. We usually have the program requirements, and I think that's an opportunity where we can share what does it really mean when we talk about this curfew, and what is it really intended to do versus not. I think there's also probably a broader conversation about curfews in general, because particularly if you want to have folks like you're mentioning be able to come back in, you'd prefer to have people in the shelter probably than out on the streets. But for good neighbor policy reasons, that's why those curfews are currently structured.
Yeah, because it read in the guidelines kind of like an exception, like, oh, if somebody misses curfew, you can't just exit them from the program because they missed curfew. But I did wonder about how this would apply to someone who maybe like systemically works in a restaurant or works in some sort of job that just they aren't going to get back until 10 p.m. and whether the programs are taking efforts to try to accommodate those folks. Because obviously we want them to be working to the degree they can, so that feels really important as well. My last question is I kept seeing this phrase throughout the document. I lost count of how many times I saw it. It was referencing prioritization criteria as established in CAS, but I couldn't find anything about the prioritization criteria if it has been established. And so are there prioritization criteria that apply? Because pretty much every program said this is the guidelines and there's these other priority criteria that we look at, but I couldn't find anything about what that priority list looks like and how it's established. And
Yeah, well, that's a great point. And something to consider in terms of the standards and making sure that we have the access to the coordinated entry system prioritization process. So every community is required to establish a prioritization process for access to coordinated entry or coordinated access. That resides on our website as a policy, and it is periodically updated. For instance, during COVID, we updated it to be more considerate of the health factors and criteria that had been put out during COVID. So we're currently going through another revision of it, but I think tying more closely, here's the policy within the standards would be something that we should do to amend the ability to understand those.
yeah. Because this was a really great, very long document, but I feel like it could also be summarized into some overarching policies that also applied in every specific shelter case, but there were certain things that you saw in every single one, and so I wonder if maybe there's a public-facing document that's like, here's our policy. I will say when it comes to prioritization, I know I brought this up before, and I'm a little bit of a broken record. I do really worry that city-funded shelters are being used to absorb folks who aren't unhoused in the city, and I know that sounds super turfy, and I say this every time, but if we're using city resources to open a safe camping area or a shelter, people who are unhoused in the city should take priority. And I've said this since we started the CAS, that there should be a way for us to prioritize based on funding sources. Hey, this is in this district, so those folks unhoused in that area are going to get first priority, except for in cases where there's an emergency or you have an extremely at-risk individual or something else causes them to bump up over that. But I'd love to see us think about that, because the politics of these shelters and how they're funded, you know, we put a ton of money into shelters and it just feels like our numbers keep not getting better. And part of that is because we have some upstream issues we're working to address, but part of it is because we're absorbing unhoused people from the neighboring jurisdictions that are not standing up shelters. And so I do want us to be thoughtful about that. And like, obviously don't want to turn away somebody in need, but you know, when Central Sac Studios opened in my district, which I was super excited about, like, yay, we celebrated that. You know, the story in the Cap Radio the next week was a profile of a guy who had been living in Rancho Cordova. Really happy for him, really glad that he's housed now, but like that was city money that we put into starting that Home Key program, and it did feel a little silly that that money that we had budgeted, that we were allocated based on the number of people that are on our streets, was now going to house somebody in Rancho Cordova, when honestly the Rancho Cordova City Council should be helping us grapple with how to house unhoused people in their streets. So I just continue to reiterate that, because I think when I think about prioritization criteria, that's one of the things. Remember when Nick Galling was here and others before him, they said, yeah, we should be able to program that into the coordinated access access system, but I don't see anything about that here. So I just want to keep reiterating that as a priority of mine.
Thank you. Because it'd be important to report the other way too, right? Whether or not the shelters outside of the city limits are taking in people from the city, to have that sort of comprehensive
Yeah, I think we
view
can
under
do
coordinated access.
more analysis of that.
Yeah.
We've done that where we saw a significant portion of the county shelters were serving people in the city. And just also recognizing that homelessness is pretty transient, so move around from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So not always residing in one community or another.
I'd love to see that data. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Did I just miss somebody in the queue?
I think he took his name.
Oh, it was Eric. Okay, so Vice Mayor Maple.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Bates. I really want to appreciate the amount of work that you and your team have put into this. I know it's been a long time coming, a lot of different iterations. I also really want to appreciate how much you've included, like the service providers and getting their feedback, making sure these are things that make sense for them that are doing the work on the ground. And just recognize that there's a big value in trying to streamline our systems in general, like that no matter where you come into the system in Sacramento or hopefully in the county, in the whole county, that you're having a similar experience. You're being treated the same way. You can expect the same things. I think that there's a lot of value in that, and just want to appreciate the work. One of the things that I loved about the standards was including having folks with lived experience on governing boards and in other parts of the process. I think that's really important because sometimes, as policymakers and beyond, we have a tendency to talk about people that are experiencing homelessness, but not include them in the conversations. But who knows best about how they're going to, get the help that they need than those experiencing it, right? Like you probably know what they need, whether it's housing or something else. So making sure that we're including them is important. And so in the creation of these standards, was there like a group of folks with lived experience that were able to participate, and what did that look like?
Yes, we actually have a Persons with Lived Expertise Committee that act as consultants for the COC, and so they were actively engaged in all of the sessions, I believe. So they not only helped with the process in terms of how we conduct the process, but also were providing feedback to the standards along the way. So they were an integral part of the leadership and decision-making process for us.
Okay, I think that's great, and I think that's probably why you see a lot of now consensus, and it seems like supporting this, so that's great. Also wanted to call out a few other things that I appreciated as I read this. Love the inclusion of good neighbor agreements and that in review every 3 years. I think that's really important. Having a shelter in my district, there's always, inevitably there's challenges that can come up or things that the neighbors are feeling or experiencing, and it's just really great to have a way to communicate with folks in the neighborhood about what the expectations are and ensure that they have a way to communicate back in. And so really appreciate those meetings that we have at the WX shelter. I really also appreciated the inclusivity decision-making with marginalized communities, especially, I think, overrepresented groups in our system, right? And we see what those are. I think that that's really important, that we include those. And then the other thing that I really appreciated was the program exit guidelines. So, a few of us did our city shelter tour last week, and was able to see that, you might have different operators in different spaces, and they have different requirements for how they're exiting people from their program. But that's something that can be obviously really impactful to someone's life if you're in a program and you are asked to leave for one reason or another. I think it's really important that in particular we have consistency to the extent that we can. So I appreciate seeing that in here. One of the questions I have is, so a mention of priority zip codes for moving forward. Are the priority zip codes the same as the highest volume zip codes, or are those different?
Well, I believe you're referring to where might we put physical access points as part of the coordinated access system?
Yeah, so one of the plan system improvements says invest in more services for high priority zip codes to appropriately address and support demand. And then I saw another graphic that with zip codes that was highest volume. Are those the same?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're looking at where we're seeing most need, and then determining if we can put physical access points in those locations to help address that need.
Okay, perfect. That's great, and really helpful. And then I also wanted to mention that I appreciate having the focus on prevention, especially on the housing problem-solving piece. I think that is such a smart investment for all of us to be thinking about, is how do we help prevent people from even being in a space? Because once you're out, and it's 10 times harder, or more, right? You're trying to figure out how am I going to get my next, down payment to get in and get the right application process. If we can keep people in their homes and maybe they only need a few $100, that's a great spend from my perspective to keep people housed and to kind of lessen the impact on the system for everyone else. So great seeing that. And then I just wanted to ask you, I know this is in LHAP and some other places, but obviously we're seeing a deficit here. We see I think it's 26% exit rate from shelter into housing, which some shelters are doing a little better than others, but wanted your perspective on what are the biggest challenges for those exit rates for people from shelter into housing? Is it the availability of housing? Is it other things?
I think it's the availability of housing is certainly one of the key factors, obviously. But I think it's also how we perhaps have more rehousing resources and assistance within our shelters. And I think there's opportunity to think about the inclusion of CalAIM community supports and just building up a much more robust rehousing effort. And so currently we are working with the county in terms of that next approach, like how do we really institutionalize rehousing and what does that mean, not only from a sheltering capacity, but a rehousing program in general. So we're hopeful that with some resources, training, and capacity, that could help with increasing the rates of housing placements. And so, again, that's all things that we'll be diving in a lot more now that we have the ability to collect and report on that data and what can we learn from it. So looking forward to lots of future conversations about how we get those placement rates increased.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's just an important point I think Councilmember Valenza also made, that just being able to have this data now and being able to see it and use it to make informed decisions is really crucial. So I know it's been a big undertaking over the last several years, and it's great to see it in a place where now we can start looking at these individual data points or looking at the aggregate and figuring out like where are the best investments for us, how do we help folks in a better way. So I'm really excited to see that. And then those are my questions, but I just kind of wanted to make a more broader comment that, while it is incredibly like heartbreaking and challenging to see the numbers, right? It's hard, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, that's how many people aren't able to access a shelter bed when they need one or not able to get into housing. Those are hard statistics. But it's important, I think, that we look back and we acknowledge what's been done, right? I mean, we have so many more shelter beds now than we had a few years ago. Right? We have so many more programs that people can be into, and we're seeing a lot of success. I know that sometimes people are frustrated and they're looking out and they're seeing people that are still on the streets and they think, oh, we're throwing all this money at it, but it's not working. And I just really want to dispel that myth. We're seeing a lot of success, right? We're seeing a lot of people get into housing. We have a few different problems, and one of those is scale, right? We're seeing an increase in the number of people. I guess we'll find out the numbers in the point in time count, so I don't want to opine there, but I think that's been our issue over the last, few years in particular. So what we are doing is working, and it's really about like how do we scale these things up so that we can have even more success and we can help people get into where they need. And so I'm constantly talking to like my communities that I represent about that, like trying to help people understand. I know what you see, but there's a lot happening behind the scenes that is really impacting us and that we can take a look at and hopefully replicate. So just want to thank you, acknowledge all your work, and looking forward to seeing these put into action. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Jennings.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Just one question, really, and it ties to something I heard you say earlier. First, thank you for the report and the community service standards. Appreciate the work that you and the entire staff have done on getting us this information. But it was something that you said about a referral denied and rides available for those to show up for shelter appointments, which I think is great, but the appointment was canceled. And I'm just trying to think of the timeline of how long it takes for that appointment to get canceled. And then once it's canceled, do they start the whole process over again? And with a service-resistant community, to start that whole process all over again, it just kind of I started asking myself some questions on that.
So, yeah, I mean, it can vary, right, depending on when that initial intake appointment is scheduled. So, we've heard, anecdotally, like take a family, for instance, right? If we're making contact with them on a Monday, but due to childcare reasons, we can't schedule that intake until Thursday. Obviously, we wouldn't know until that missed appointment on Thursday that they weren't coming. I will say there are efforts that are made generally within that 24-hour period after that missed appointment to try to get that rescheduled. But if we make 3 attempts to contact somebody and we're not able to hear from them, they don't get back to us within a reasonable amount of time, the team moves on to the next client to be able to connect them to that option.
Okay. So that's a little bit more information. The 3 attempts, I didn't hear that before, so that's kind of a good thing. And I think my question is, over what period of time do we keep that appointment open before we do finally counsel it? After the 3, and what's the time frame for those 3 attempts?
I would say it's generally no more than a day, because we do really look for utilization as one of the driving factors here. Is we want to make sure that the beds and the shelter units are full as often as possible. So if we're waiting too long for someone to get back to us, generally that means that it could take longer for that unit to be filled when someone else who might be ready to take it tonight could take that. I will say if that person does reappear in the system, and we do see this sometimes, right, where 211 staff may contact someone and we don't hear from them for 3 weeks, and they call back and they're like, oh, hey, I just missed a call from you. I was like, well, that was 3 weeks ago, but yes, you did miss a call. You are prioritized, and we would like to try to get you in. So they don't fall off the list just because they missed the appointment, but we do move on. And if they do show up back up, we do try to make an effort to get them back in to another to the same shelter or to a different one of their choosing.
That helps me tremendously, because as much as I want to think that they work the same way we work, and it doesn't quite. I think you know that better than I do. So thanks for that explanation and more information. And then the last thing, and this is for anybody who can answer it, we do have the information and the research on how long it takes for our clients to accept services. Do we have that information?
Well, I think what you're asking is maybe how many attempts are taken until they do accept. And I believe that DCR, we don't necessarily collect that, but I know that the county is starting to collect that and report on it. And I'm not sure if your outreach staff are starting to track that. Yes.
Okay. And I just want to kind of tie that into the information that you're providing us, because I think it'll inform us as to how we should probably move forward. And so that's information that's very important, I think.
Yeah, and one of the things, to the extent that someone has been consistently not accepting services and is considered extremely vulnerable or highly vulnerable, then that extremely vulnerable household policy and next step that we're taking would mean that we could have a placement more immediately. Because sometimes, it takes several attempts and tries before someone's ready to say yes. And so being able to then say, okay, we've got something for you more immediately if they are considered extremely vulnerable. So that's the next step of what we're moving to, is trying to create some more capacity for that immediate response.
Thank you. Good question. Mayor Pro Tem?
Just have a quick question for the problem-solving access points. I was really impressed, and I think it's something that I always preach, like first and last month's rent, security deposit, what can we do with a little bit of money to be able to get someone off the street? And seeing it, being over 50% is incredible. So I see percentages here. Do you have an actual number of clients for the $2.2 million that was spent?
805 households.
805 households. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, a little can go a long way, and prevention is the key thing that we need to continue focusing on as a city, as a county, as a jurisdiction, because your report here proves that it works.
But being able to utilize 211 with a prevention resource really helps. It's more trauma-informed. It gets the person connected earlier in the process. So hopefully that over time is addressing our inflow so that we're able to quickly serve those that need a limited amount of resources versus needing much more substantial resources when they fall into homelessness. So we're, as part of your plan, we're also building out more of a prevention framework, and so expect to see some more actions coming out of that as part of the regional plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, a couple of myself. First of all, I just want to say how much I appreciate the evolution and the progress of our being much more data-driven. Sometimes data can dull the senses if it's too much, but I think the biggest problem in our systems, and this is throughout the state and the country and certainly in our city and county, is that there's not enough outcome-based accountability. There just isn't, and this begins to get at that. But I want to pick up a little bit on where Councilmember Jennings was going, and a little bit Vice Mayor Maple as well. First of all, on a couple of the statistics, and I know that I appreciate the Vice Mayor making the point that certainly we're going to get this point in time count in 2 weeks, and that's going to be a snapshot, but boy, it's the number that everyone sure focuses on, and we'll look forward to that. But we don't focus enough on sort of the extraordinary efforts that have been made by the city and the county, really, and the providers over these past number of years. And so when you report that in 2023 that 2,133 households moved from crisis resources to housing, these were unsheltered people, correct?
Yes.
How many people have moved from, how many unsheltered people have moved from crisis resources to housing since 2017 in the city and county of Sacramento?
Well, I think the number that we've quoted is about 25,000.
25,000, right. And so, again, depending on what this point in time count shows us in terms of the trends, we know that one piece of data that would be incredibly helpful would be to better understand what leads someone from being housed and on the edge to becoming unsheltered. Is there anything in this data or in the prospective data sets that might be the next stage of this project that will tell us more about, that will break down where, by zip code, by housing type, by housing price, by any other demographic, who the people are that are entering the status of being unsheltered?
I think through the prevention framework network that we're planning to do as part of the plan, we are looking to see if we can get eviction data, if we can work with partners about who's coming to their front door. For instance, we recently had conversations with SMUD, and they're having conversations with people not able to make their utility bills. They're actually doing case conferencing and case management. And so those types of entities we're trying to bring into the fold to give us a better picture of who is presenting that is unstably housed and, you know, what is their stories and situation. So through that prevention network, I think you will have a lot more data that we're collecting around who's about to become homeless.
Okay, but is Sacramento Steps Forward partnering with that prevention consortium?
Yes, we're the lead
You're the
entity,
lead,
yeah,
okay.
to help put it together.
Because one of the things we've seen, and we saw this recently, been well reported now, about our effort to make sure that people who are unsheltered and have vouchers, that they don't have an expiration of their voucher. And there are many issues within, but one of them is, how do we get the various agencies that are responsible for this problem to be working in even greater collaboration than currently? It was the reason behind the city-county partnership agreement, for example. And so making sure that Steps Forward continues to play the leadership role of insisting that this kind of data be prioritized so that you can report in the way you're reporting here today, I think would be really important. And so that's the second piece now, which is sort of the Rick Jennings question of a moment ago about, and he asked one question, a very important one, of which there could be many variations, right? How many outreach, how many people, how many times does it take to outreach to somebody who may be living with a serious underlying condition, to either accept service or to finally conclude that the person is unable to accept service. That's so relevant to our debate and our work together. And so what this, and this data again, which I know is first stage, is really about pure shelter and housing, but it doesn't tell us anything about the process for enrolling someone in services, both from the government side, but also from the individual side. And whether or not our county partners are using the conservatorship tools and to what degree and extent. How long does it take to enroll somebody in an FSP, a full service partnership? All those things that are part of our growing collaboration, but still
A work in progress.
still imperfect. So are you going to get into what it takes to get somebody into wraparound care and services for people with severe underlying conditions, and what some of the impediments might be both on the government side and on the individual side?
Yes, I think as part of your regional plan, that is work that is contemplated and will begin to happen with the county in particular in terms of what does it look like to have integrated services? What are our processes look like now? So getting to your point about what's the length of time to get into relative services so that we can improve both the integration of our work as well as accelerate the processes. So that is contemplated and action items within the regional
And
plan.
how long before we're farther along with that?
Well, it's a one-year action plan, so we're already almost a quarter in. So within the year is the expectation that we have some of that information.
So when this report is made to the next city council a year from now, it will include broader information about what it takes to get people who need it into the services they need, combined with the shelter and the housing?
Mhm. As part of the regional plan, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
well, this is what's called progress. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Do we have anything else? This is just a report, correct? Not just, it's an important report, but there's no action to take here, and we'll await that point in time count in a couple weeks, right? 1 week. All right, members, that concludes the formal part of this agenda. Are there comments on items not on the agenda?
I have two speakers for matters not on the agenda, Michael Welton and Robert Copeland.
Mr. Welton?
Michael?
Hello, how y'all doing?
Hi.
I'm Michael Melton. I come back again to speak about homelessness. I came a few weeks ago about my Section 8 voucher being accepted. I was selected, and then because I was homeless, I was denied because I didn't get my paperwork and didn't do my paperwork in time. So they told me to go to a shelter, so now I'm in the shelter, 211. They do help, but it did take 3 months to get into the shelter. Let's see, I spoke with the SHRA lady here. I don't remember her name, but I have her name here. Remember, she spoke here a few weeks ago. Mary Lynn or Mary Liz.
Mary Liz.
There it
yes.
goes, okay. So Mary Liz, so then she said she was gonna fix it. She was like, okay, I'm gonna handle this for you, Mr. Milton. She said, I'll call you tomorrow. I'll give you a call tomorrow and we'll get this figured out. She didn't call me. It's been 3 weeks.
Tell us what the it is again, just so that we understand. What help are you?
My Section 8 was,
Your
I was
voucher.
selected, yes, I was selected for the voucher, but because I was homeless, I was denied because I didn't get my paperwork in time. I had no address to get the
This is
paperwork.
the very problem. Has your voucher expired?
It just was terminated because I didn't do the paperwork in time. And I'm saying it's like thousands of people probably in the streets like that are homeless already.
Why don't we'll follow up here. We need to make sure that we get
When I spoke to you guys last time, you had me speak to Mary Liz, and then the news came and spoke to me, and we did an article in the Sacramento Bee
It
about
was
it.
in the Bee this morning. So we have Yayin and Brian Pedro here. Can you talk to them? Because we're in the midst of this conversation about expiring vouchers, and I don't know exactly where your situation falls, but let us have our city people talk to you and see if we can get to the bottom of it. Is that all right?
All right, yeah, because Mary Liz said she would speak to me, and she never called me back.
I'm sure she was intending to, but let's see. You know, we know we have a list of 200 people, right? Is this gentleman on this list or not? And if not, why not? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Our final speaker is Robert Copeland.
I read another article in the Sacramento Bee just this morning. City manager gets 64 weeks of bonus income, and we're in a budget deficit. And this was in a Bee. Why? Is Howard Chan's salary and bonuses more important than students, the homeless population? I don't think so. You got to prioritize what is important to Sacramento. The city council and city manager doing a very poor job, in my opinion. And I believe that's a lot of other people's opinion too. Why is it getting 64 weeks? That's 15 months. A bonus income, he can cash in what he wants. And that was in the Sacramento Bee this morning. I don't get it. You got to priority what's important to Sacramento. You work for us. We don't work for you. And you're failing the population of Sacramento in a lot of issues. Like, how many times have you gone to cannabis? How many times have they been here on agenda items? The homeless population, housing. One of the things that we support and housing now is the HAP program. We were at the annex just this last month on several issues. I talked to former city councilmember Angelique Ashby, Stephanie Nguyen, and Kevin McCarty, staff member, several housing issues. Thank you.
Mayor, I have no more speakers.
Are there member questions or comments? If not, let us begin our closed session in 10 minutes. How's that, 3:35? Right? We're adjourned.